Okay, members, you're all very welcome to this fully virtual meeting this afternoon. So with us today, we have Kelly Armstrong, the Vice Chair, Ciara Ferguson, Paul Frew, Mark Durkin and Anya Murphy. So thank you for all of your time today. I'll start off then and just remind members if they have any interest to declare to do it either now or at the appropriate time during today's business. Moving on then to agenda item 1, which is apologies. I have apologies from Andy Allen and Stephen Dunn. Members, are you aware of any other apologies? No? Okay. I'm going to then move swiftly on to agenda item 2, which is chairperson's business. Members, the original reason for holding this additional virtual meeting was to consider an urgent confirmatory resolution SR in advance of being debated on the 21st of March, as our next full meeting is not, as you know, until next Thursday, the 24th of March. The agenda has expanded somewhat since then, so I'm going to quickly run through the other items that we're now going to consider. Members, the licensing bill team approached the clerk yesterday to request we consider 2 SL1s in connection with the commencement of Section 11 of the Licensing and Registration of Clubs Amendment Act 2021. You will recall that a procedural issue had been identified with the drafting of Section 11 of the Act, resulting in the removal of it from Phase 2 commencement order. We were then advised by officials on the 24th of February that a way forward had been identified via secondary legislation. I agreed that we should consider those SL1s today in order that the SRs can then be made for us to consider at our last meeting on the 24th of March. Members, were also considering an SL1 regarding changes to the Child Maintenance Service and an SL1 regarding medical certificates for cremations in order that the SRs can be laid and then considered again at our meeting next week on the 24th. And then in addition to that, we're also going to consider a request from Mark Durkin regarding our support for his request for accelerated passage of the Emergency Exceptional Circumstances, Energy Prices and Other Contingencies Bill. So that's our business for today. So I'm going to move on with that. And I just propose then, members, if we could consider the request, first of all, from Mark, and then we'll move on to the SL1s and then to the SR. So members content that we proceed that way? Content? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Good stuff. Okay, members, then that tabled agenda item, which is the request for accelerated passage, the Emergency Exceptional Circumstances, Energy Prices and Other Contingencies Bill. Members, you'll find a copy of the correspondence draft bill, and the EFM from Mark is in your tabled papers. In accordance with Standing Order 42.3, Mark is formally requesting that the Communities Committee agree to accelerated passage for the Emergency Exceptional Circumstances, Energy Price and Other Contingencies Bill, which he intends to table as a matter of urgency in the Assembly. This bill is to enable the Northern Ireland Assembly to enable the making of Northern Ireland departments of schemes for financial assistance in circumstances, namely the emergency circumstances of rising energy costs and the absence of an executive. Members, have you any comments or anything? Mark is here with us, and if there's any questions, I'm sure he'd be happy to take them, or if Mark wants to say anything. And if not, then I'll put the question to the committee. So members, is there anything you want to comment or ask Mark on that? Kelly has her hand up. Go ahead, Kelly.
Thank you, Chair, and hopefully you can hear me okay, because my screen, I've got about 3 screens open to read my papers. I just want to double check, Mark, on this. Has there been, we've just received out before this meeting today the papers for next week, and it's not on it. I take it then that the Business Committee haven't discussed this for you yet?
No, they haven't. It still hasn't received the thumbs up or the seal of approval from the Speaker. Legal advice is being sought on that, Kelly. So I know we're all very much up against the clock here. I know it had been raised at Business Committee, or at least I thought it had, by our whip, and there has been engagement with other whips that if, and it is an if, this is a long shot, that it does get the go ahead, that any sort of political or procedural blockages that might be in the way can be moved with political agreement. I think it is extremely important. The bill itself is pretty simple, but it's not simple to explain, if you know what I mean. I think it was incumbent on us, and I know others have been looking at ways, ministers included, at how we could free up money that people so desperately need. And I mean, we have cited energy in the title. I have to emphasise too that there's been back and forth between myself and the Bill's office today, and energy may have to come out of the title. I have to go to the Executive Office Committee today. They're deemed the relevant committee, but given that, well, I suppose the real motivation behind us tabling this bill was around energy and helping people with that current crisis, that it was, I suppose, common courtesy to bring it to this committee, which I think is always relevant.
Thanks for that, Mark. Can I just double check? Just when you said there, it confused me. So the Executive Committee, the Executive Office Committee, are they the ones that will be bringing it through then? Or, sorry, would it be the relevant committee that would be involved then?
Yeah, I have to go to them today and sort of plead the case for accelerated passage without, because of where the bill currently is, getting involved in a technical discussion or Q&A around the actual content of the bill. I says there's redrafting bits still ongoing, I think finalised now, but that doesn't change the intent or the effect of what has been circulated to members. There has been wider engagement with executive parties, have also furnished smaller parties and independents with the EFM, a rationale behind what we're trying to do here. I do think there is a possibility, as slight as it may be, that we get this through, but the effect would certainly be beneficial to people here, not just in the context of that current cost of living crisis, which is what spurred us on. But if, for example, in the absence of a First and Deputy First Minister, or even during a period of dissolution, where new money comes from Westminster saying the spring statement for either to deal with cost of living or even in a response to the crisis in Ukraine, the refugee thing, that it'll enable us to do something with it rather than it come here and just sit, as the money has been sitting for weeks and months now, unable to be used for the purpose that it was allocated originally.
All right, Kelly, is that you finished there?
Just to say, I am concerned, Mark. I know that my party certainly responded. We haven't had feedback as yet. Look, all of us want to get money out as soon as possible. I'm just this being the Communities Committee. If it's the Executive Office Committee that will be the one that has to agree to bypassing them for accelerated passage, it sort of doesn't really matter what we say here today. I get it completely. I'm just, when I saw the papers coming through, I was like, oh my goodness, we're about to speak about this and it's not on next week's papers. I appreciate the timescales on this may run you out of time on this. I think we all know the intention is there, that we want to help people. I know all of the parties have come out with ideas that we could get there, but I just would be worried, Mark, that there's not going to be enough time. I know we can't raise expectations out there that there may be more money coming if we can't get it out to them, but it'll be for the Executive Office, I think, to confirm your accelerated passage for you, which is not nice because I would rather be able to say here today from the Communities Committee, but I think it needs to be them then if it's...
Oh yeah, I know I didn't have to come here, but I wanted to, given, I suppose, like I say, the cost of living crisis aspect of this and how much work committee has done on that and how determined committee have been to find a way to help people. Absolutely, we can't raise expectation. However, we should aspire to do everything that we can. I know that time's up against us. Now, there is a possibility, should we not make it because of the narrowness of that window remaining in this mandate, this could possibly be done at the start of the next one. But that leaves us again an even longer gap where the money's sitting there, and people are desperate for help.
Okay, Kelly, is that you finished there for the meantime? Yeah. Okay, can I bring in there? Or sorry, you're all live anyway. You're all on the screen and you're all in the spotlight. Paul, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, thank you, Chair. And Mark, thank you. I do recognise the fact that you didn't have to bring it here. And I really do appreciate that because this committee, we scrutinise the communities ministry and department that has then responsibility for fuel poverty. So I do appreciate and thank you for that. I suppose my question is, because this has been done at pace, and there's no doubt you have been nimble on this, how sure are you that this is competent? And what discussions have you had with the Attorney General and all other players that would have a say in this, like the Bill Office?
Well, it's with legal clerks as we speak, Paul. The Attorney General's role is to advise the executive, not private members. I have notified the Attorney General, but it's not her place or the place of her office to advise on private members' legislation. I've no doubt that some ministers who've been made aware of this will seek further advice in terms of the competence. As it sits, we don't believe that there are issues around competence. We certainly hope there aren't. The legals might find that there are, in which case we're back, maybe not quite to square one, because I do believe we've identified something that's around amending the Financial Assistance Act. And this new measure would apply only in circumstances where we don't have a First and Deputy First Minister, and the Election of Minister and Petitions of Concerns Act, recently passed in Westminster, is active here as it currently is.
Thank you for that. I take it this bill frees up the money that's been allocated to Northern Ireland, but does it place a duty on various departments to spend the money in a certain direction, i.e. on energy costs or on fuel poverty measures? It strikes me that if it releases money in a department, it's then up to the minister of that department as to how that money is spent. Is there any onus on a minister or duty placed upon them to spend it in an appropriate direction?
Well, anything coming forward from a minister, because this scheme doesn't purport to or have any intention of designing or defining what schemes can be done, but any minister would need the approval of you'd need the consent of 5 ministers, which may include the finance minister, for anything that is brought forward. It's limited a bit in ambition. There's some of our people wanted to go further, but it still would be contingent on a department to design the scheme and come forward and have that approved by other ministers, and then the Assembly. It gives a role to the Assembly that we haven't seen in a while. We saw during the pandemic how the Financial Assistance Act was able to be used swiftly and successfully in many instances. I know we all had issues with various schemes in response to various issues, but it's trying to, I suppose, give ministers and the Assembly the flexibility to do that, even when it has appeared and it's still the case that we're doing it with our hands tied behind our back because we don't have a First and Deputy First or Executive.
Okay, understand. Thank you.
It's not giving any ministers like solo runs, and nor is it purporting to do the bigger budget piece. It can't do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other members want to ask anything further or any clarification points of Paul or of Mark? Sorry, I suppose Mark. I mean, you said this will not sit with this committee, and all you were asking that the committee was content to support the proposal, given that fuel poverty certainly falls within Committee for Communities and Department for Communities.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no difficulty with that, so I haven't. If there's anything any members want to further say or add, are you happy then, members, that we are content to support? Yeah, yeah, I'm saying nods, so I'll take that as a yes, albeit it probably doesn't mean a great deal at the end of the day, but
No, no,
yeah.
but I'm trying to, given the crazily truncated timeline that we're looking at here, to maximise the type of consultation I've done. And I know that this isn't consultation on the content of the bill per se, but just in terms of the recognition of the need for, if not this, but similar legislation, and to get it done as quickly as possible.
All right, okay, Mark, look, thank you. Members,
Sure.
then that's grand. We'll move on then to our next agenda item, which is agenda item 3, which is SL1 Child Support Electronic Communications and Information Amendments Regulations Northern Ireland 2022. You'll find a copy of the SL1 at page 6 of your packs. These regulations will allow for child maintenance service notifications to parents to be sent, received, and accessed electronically, in addition to the existing postal method. This will enable CMS to significantly transform how services are provided to the public. They will also extend the list of providers that must provide information to the CMS. These proposed changes were included in the DWP-led public consultation entitled Child Maintenance, Modernising and Improving Our Service, which ran from the 18th of June 2021 until the 6th of August 2021. Members, I'm going to ask, have you any comments, or are you content that the rule be made? Content, thank you. And just to say, I meant to say it earlier, Aisling Riley has joined us as well. Aisling, it's good to see you too. Moving on then to tabled SL1, the Licensing and Registration of Clubs Amendment Act Northern Ireland 2021, Consequential Provision Regulations 2022. Members, you'll find a copy of the SL1 in your table papers. This proposed statutory rule is subject to negative resolution and makes consequential amendments to Schedule 10 to the Licensing Northern Ireland Order 1996. The amendments to Schedule 10 are in relation to the procedure to apply to the County Court for an authorisation under the Article 52F of that order, inserted by Section 11 of the Act, which provides for local producers of alcoholic drinks to sell their produce for consumption on their premises. Members, any comments? Are you content for the rule to be made?
Content.
Good stuff. I'll move on then to another table paper, SL1, the licensing notice relating to local producers' premises, authorisation for on-sales regulation Northern Ireland 2022. You'll find a copy of this SL1 in your table papers. This statutory rule is consequential to Section 11 and relates to the display of a notice in the taproom part of a local producer's premises. It prescribes the notice and the information contained within the notice that local producers of intoxicating liquor must display when selling alcoholic drinks which have been produced in their premises for consumption in their premises. Again, members, any comments? Are you content that the rule be made?
Content.
Yeah. Okay, then I'll move on to next table paper, SL1, the Coronavirus Act 2020, extension of modifications of requirement regarding medical certificates for cremations order Northern Ireland 2022. You'll find this SL1 in your table pack. Section 21 of the Coronavirus Act regarding modifications of requirements regarding medical certificates for cremations is currently scheduled to expire on the 25th of March 2022. The proposed statutory rule will extend the expiry date of Section 21 by 6 months under the provisions of Section 92 of the Coronavirus Act. Members, again, any comments? Are you content that this rule be made?
Content.
Content, yeah.
Content. Paul Frew. Paul, you wanted to come in?
No.
Yeah, Chair, I'm just not happy and content with this, although I'll not block it if it's the will of the committee, quite simply because I just do not know enough about this. There used to be a way of doing something. It was a very important thing at the point of death, and then, of course, we changed it because of the coronavirus pandemic. We relaxed requirements. I'm not in a place yet to actually know enough about this in order to see whether those relaxations should be the norm or whether we should go back to the way it was before the pandemic. So I just, in all honesty, I just don't know if I can support this at this stage.
Okay, no, and look, I understand that. That yeah, none of us knows what lies ahead, and I certainly know your opinion on many of these things. Though I do think that we do go ahead and ask the rule be made. It will be brought back to us again next week. I assume then for us to read it into the record. I don't know if Janice can hear me or Sean to send me a text and let me know if that's strictly true. There's Janice texting me. We're not making it. We're just extending it. We're not making a rule. We're just extending the rule that's already here. So we are. Members, any other views on that? Other members, are they content that we go ahead with this, for the rule to be made?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Agreed. Okay, so everyone is agreed. Paul, you have your reservations, and they'll be duly noted. So they will. Are members happy enough then for me to move on from that? Yes. Paul, are you happy enough? Yeah. Okay. Moving on then to agenda item 4, SR 2022 number 108, the Coronavirus Act 2020 extension of provisions relating to local authority meetings order Northern Ireland 22. A copy of this rule is at page 10 of your pack. The rule is subject to the confirmatory resolution procedure. The SL1 was considered by the committee on the 3rd of March, and we were content for the order to be made. When the SL1 was considered by the committee, the name of the SR was given as the Draft Coronavirus Act Alteration of the Expiry Date of Provisions Related to Local Authority Meetings Order Northern Ireland 22. The name has now been amended to the Coronavirus Act 2020 Extension of Provisions Relating to Local Authority Meetings Order Northern Ireland 2022. There you are. Hope that was all very clear. There have been no changes to the policy since the SL1 was submitted to us. So I need to formally ask then, have members any objections to the rule? Again, Mr. Frews, hands up.
Yeah, just I'll put my camera on. Just to outline again that whilst I support the outcome of this legislation in the fact that there should be more flexibility for local government meetings, this should not be the vehicle used, and we should have had the time in order to bring in proper legislation that suits this output and outcome and be fit for purpose. Using emergency powers and legislation just shouldn't be the norm now, and if we keep extending this over and over and over again, it's a road to no town. So really, the department really needs to get their act together, and if they feel that this is the right outcome and that there should be this flexibility going forward, then they should be able to put it onto the face of a bill. Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't think, Paul, you'll get too many objections to that from many of the members here. I mean, I think if coronavirus has taught us anything, is that flexible working does work. And I know for many, whether that is, especially people with caring responsibilities, whether that is parents or children, it's been vital for them. So it has. And I know, and you would know as well through speaking to some of our councillors, they think that this shouldn't be extended because on the other hand, it has led people to not attending council meetings as well. So there's a debate there. So that it does need to go out for proper consultation. Sadly, we'll not have that opportunity with only a week left. But that's maybe something that can be brought back after in the new mandate that this is looked at. I absolutely agree with you. I think that we know from private business and businesses across the world, things have changed dramatically. So therefore, there should be those proper regulations in place. So absolutely get that. But in saying that, I'm just going to ask again, are members any objections to the rule, which I don't think there was when I originally asked? Nope. Okay, then I'm going to put the following. That the Committee for Communities has considered SR 2022-79. Oh, no. Hold on. Oh, that was just the... Hold on. My pages are in the wrong order here. So they are. Okay. Somebody help me here. And Janice is at home as well and is not in. So My page goes in then to talk about licenses and restaurants and guest houses is my next page. Hold on, Paul Free has his hand up.
Chair, you're making a great case for us passing this.
Could you filibuster Paul there for 5 minutes? Do I sort this out, please?
You're making a great case for us to pass this.
Aren't I just? Bear with me here. Do I do a bit of text mess? Okay. Janice or Sean, I know they're both on there. Yeah, unless I've printed off an old document, which wouldn't be the first time. Okay. Can Sean or Janice hear me? Or have you left me? Let me know what we're doing here. Right, members, if you just sit still for a minute, I'm going on to silent to take a call here. All right, members, we're good to go again. I just have to go between pages here. So then I'll read in the following that the Committee for Communities has considered SR 2022 number 108, the Coronavirus Act 2020, extension of provisions relating to local authority meetings, Order Northern Ireland 2022, and subject to the report of the Examiner of Statutory Rules, has no objection to the rule being I don't know if it is confirmed. I have no objection to the rule. Members agreed with that?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to then just want to ask Sean and Janice would have listened to that. I want them just to even message me through the chat to tell me if that was done correctly, because we know if it's not read into the record correctly, it doesn't apply and we have to do it again. And like we've never had an issue with this before. Why is this happening today? You know? So again, Sean or Janice, if you can write into the chat. I know Janice is having difficulties with her broadband at home, but Sean, if you listened in there, can you let me know that was done correctly in case I need to move back to it again? And I'll wait on that, and I'll move on then to agenda item 5, which is forward work programme. Members, there's no meeting tomorrow as it's St Patrick's Day. Our last committee meeting of the mandate will take place next Thursday, the 24th of March. At that meeting, we'll be finalising our legacy report, and I would remind you to send any comments through to the clerk by the end of today. We will also be briefed by RAISE on urban and rural community networks, by DePaul on Housing First, and by Action Mental Health on a range of issues, including the current European Social Fund delivery under the DFC remit and future Shared Prosperity Fund. Members, any comments on forward work programme or content to note?
Content.
Okay, thank you very much. And I've just got a message to say that I read that wrong. So oh dear, because it has to be confirmed by the Assembly. So bear with me again. So SR 2022 number 108, the Coronavirus Act 2020 extension of provisions relating to local authority meetings, Order Northern Ireland 2022. That the Committee for Communities has considered this and, subject to the report of the Examiner of Statutory Rules, has no objection to the rule being confirmed. Agreed?
Agreed.
Good stuff. That's that done then. Hopefully that's it. Agenda item 6 then, members. I'm going to move straight on to date, time and location of our next meeting. Members, our next meeting then will be Thursday the 24th of March 2022 at 9:30 a.m. and this will also be fully virtual meetings, so you can just imagine how that's going to go, because there's a plenary on that day, and our Starlight for our room, as you know, room 29 is used for plenary. So thank you so much for your time today. Apologies for the hiccup there. Good to see you all. Enjoy your St Patrick's Day tomorrow, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.